Hello everyone, welcome to Ansarkari. Today we are taking up the newspaper of 30th of November, starting with the first one. Yesterday, the first data of the GDP growth has come out, which has showcased 5.4 near growth. It has been criticized that is because it is very low as compared to the 4 inflation, which showcases the lack of the sluggish expenditure by the middle class as well as the consumption growth that is been going on. Further, the overall investment and compensation policies in the private sector will focus on growth, but it will take time because there is a certain differences. There are certain differences between the consumption pattern of the middle class as well as the other classes in the society as compared to the overall expenditure, capex expenditure. In several areas, Niche next. In several areas, for example, agriculture, mining, manufacturing, electricity, construction, overall, the GVA at basic prices, it is forecasting in a very lower rate. This showcases the because this is a strain on the overall the economic pattern that is the overall consumption in this area, investment in this area, as well as the overall we can say the demand. It also slowing. How to increase the demand? First of all, tax cut. It is one aspect. Second would be focusing on inflation targeting aspect. Then third would be curbing the overall food inflation by supply chain management and focusing on FDI because FDI also decreasing in the year to year basis. Worldly wise, I know nothing of life except through the cinema. Jean-Luc Godard, he is talking about the one-dimensional thinking of the life that is we see on that internet if and we tend to have a certain kind of a worldwide view with regarding to everything through the cinema. Society is reflected through the cinema when we are talking about several aspects. For example, violence in the society, even minor, and their aspiration towards the society. It is also through the cinema. So it is very important that the cinema should portray the reality of the life, or otherwise it will impact the overall thinking of the society. We have to grow out of the cinema by traveling to such places because today also, if we are consuming certain kind of news from US, even Western countries, we tend to do from cinema, for example, Hollywood, and this gets certain kind of a stereotype with regard to that society. So it is very important that we have to get a lot of experience and certain kind of a uh, different thinking from several other aspect. For example, books हो गया या फिर traveling हो गया so that we get better pictures. यही होगा I think. So, everywhere the same smoke. Air pollution is not only related to the Indian subcontinent. We have discussed previous week one article which it had talked with regarding to the pollution diplomacy, smog diplomacy, with regarding to Pakistan, with regarding to Afghanistan, etc. Because Pakistan is also facing challenges of the smog. So in the subcontinent region, due to the slowing of the western disturbances as well as huge focus on wheat and rice cycle and uh, use of labor rather than use of labor, farmers are focusing on stubble burning, which is causing smog. in larger manner. So to make it more and more, we can say, mitigation of the pollution, we have to focus on smog diplomacy, because slowly the air quality index, it has decreased a lot, and it is impacting the overall health as well as environment. So what is needed in the longer run? We have to focus much more on satellite data. We have to share information with each other. Then second would be we have to focus on FDI in clean technology. We are also discussing the importance of the climate finance, that is $1.3 trillion per year, and we have to create certain kind of fund which can invest in climate technology and green technology in all the countries in the South Asia region. Apart from that, clean cooking fuel transitioning to the public buses, public in transportation system. For example, Lahore Metro, Delhi Metro, etc., RRTS, etc., which requires capital expenditure. Capital expenditure requires huge amount of expenditure with the help of multilateral institutions like such as World Bank, ADB, etc. Apart from all this, another major aspect is One Health concept, that is focusing on environment as well as human health and animal health. For that, there has to be certain kind of a institution such as Environment Protection Authority, which we have discussed in 3 days back, that this will cater the whole One Health approach in India, as well as it can create a very specific channel which can promote diplomacy in small area with other countries such as Pakistan. Because whole South Asian neighbors is facing small challenges, which needs cross-state solidarity against this system. NJT is statutory body. CPCP is also statutory body. CPCP is under Water Act 1974. It also has certain kind of a powers given under Air Act 1981. NGT 2010. So NGT, it is a very important quasi-federal institution which directs the institution across India to adhere to the guideline of the green guideline, as well as to adhere to the pollution control method in India. It has stated that mining poses significant risk to people as well as the environment nearby the silica mine. So there has to be certain kind of a guideline, sand silica and others, which needs to be followed because it is creating silicosis, that's a lung disease which is caused by the inhalation of the silica dust, as well as the whole plant silica mining requires labors, it requires huge amount of huge tracts of land, which leads to the destruction of the local biodiversity. So certain kind of a medical infrastructure is needed, labor rights, healthcare facilities, then EIA, Environment Impact Assessment of the mining should be there. MMDR Act 1957, which had certain kind of a amendment in 2015 with regard to the minor and major mineral. For that, there has to be certain kind of a Khanij fund which can be given to the local indigenous population so that they can also be roped in with regard to the development processes in that state. Further, camper funding as well as the CSR can be used to change the lifestyle, to transform the lifestyle of the locals. Technology can be used, for example, mask and other aspect which can reduce the impact of the silicosis. Other than that, silica mining requires huge extraction of the sand from the bed, which needs to be filled up because it creates certain kind of crater. So the filling of the sand as well as focusing on reclamation of the land, it should be focused. Tree is very important because it transforms the CO2 to oxygen, and also it is a very sustainable, very affordable tool for mitigation of the carbon dioxide. That is why, for the other than that, tree is a basic foundation of the whole biodiversity in ecosystem. That is the Supreme Court has stated for the tree census. Because in urbanization, we tend to care less regarding the population of the trees. So, according to the tree census, the creation of the authority and the, for example, tree authority, it will create certain kind of a protocol how the tree should be kept and preserved. If the tree is being cut, how the processes should be there. And third would be with regard to the CAMPA funding, with regard to the conservation of trees after that, after it has been cut for the project. So a tree officer, quote unquote, it is a proper job which supervises the permission to grant it for the felling trees. It will regulate, it will carry out certain kind of census, it will carry out uh, the it will also have certain kind of data with regard to indigenous species of the tree, which will be very helpful in the Campa conservation project. So overall tree authority and appointment of the tree officer, it is very important in urbanization. So when we are talking about sustainable urbanization, role of tree officer, tree authority is there. Uttar Pradesh is one of the largest state. Its target is around $1 trillion from 450 $300 billion. For that, ease of doing business is very important, so that it creates certain kind of business friendly policies, regulatory processes. It will offer incentive, subsidy initiative to attract investment. वो कैसे होगा? If the GDP it is right now 26 lakh crore, it will touch 32 lakh crore. That is approximately 400 billion dollar. It will focus on subsidies scheme such as creating of a Mitra textile park. Keyword UP in defense industrial corridor, which will improve the defense manufacturing capacity. Jhansi, Chitrakoot, Kanpur, Lucknow, etc. Integrated manufacturing cluster. It will be there. And apart from that, other aspect which is very important is warehouse and logistic. It will create certain kind of a e-space metro warehouses, because logistic, it is very foundation for whole manufacturing and service sector. IT hub, industrial investment project in Kanga. Other than that, Noida master plan as comparable to Delhi master plan 2041. It will create a master plan for Dadri, Noida, Ghaziabad, etc. Then we have already discussed regarding the e-district portal, which is a very transparent ecosystem platform, which will improve the overall governance at a local level. Robust ecosystem with regard to the startup, DG Locker, Semiconductor Park, plastic, one district, one product. For example, perfume park in Kannauj, IT park in Noida. State also hosts largest electronic manufacturing sector and मोबाइल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर 50% से ऊपर यूपी एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं, बनाते हैं मोबाइल एंड इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स. फर्दर वह फर्स्ट इनलैंड वाटरवे यूपी के पास है. So overall, we have seen how the state re-energizes, rechannelizes itself with respect to the subsidies and support by the government, creating certain kind of a ecosystem. जैसे इंडस्ट्रियल कॉरिडोर हो गया, नोएडा प्लान हो गया, हर एक एस्पेक्ट, हर एक एरियाज के अंदर में टेक्सटाइल पार्क पार्क सिस्टम क्रिएट किया है. टेक्सटाइल पार्क, सेमीकंडक्टर पार्क, प्लास्टिक पार्क, परफ्यूम पार्क एक्सेट्रा. तो एक तरह का मॉडल है विच कैन बी रेप्लिकेटेड इन अदर स्टेट्स. फॉर एग्जांपल झारखंड, बिहार, जो स्टेट, हर एक स्टेट के अंदर में एक स्पेसिफिक मॉडल शुड बी प्रमोटेड. it it has certain kind of expertise. For example, Bihar has certain kind of expertise in horticulture. Andhra Pradesh fisheries. So for there, the park can be created. Fisheries park, horticulture park, etc. Right now, there was a certain issue between the succession of the head of the Mewar royal family. Mewar royal family वही family है whose lineage is from right from Rana Sanga, Rana Pratap, etc. तो अभी जो लेफ्ट वाले एमएलए विश्वराज ही हैज बीन anointed एज ए हेड ऑफ द मेवाड़ रॉयल फैमिली, लेकिन जो उनके छोटे भाई है उनके बेटे लक्ष्य राज वो अभी रॉयल जो मेवाड़ पैलेस है उसको हेड करते हैं। तो दोनों के बीच में लाइन सक्सेशन का इशू था विथ रिगार्डिंग टू द पैलेस एंड ओवरऑल एक मंदिर है वहां पर। दिस शोकेसेस द पब्लिक फ्यूड और कहीं ना कहीं उनका डिफरेंसेस रहा है विथ रिगार्डिंग टू द हु विल हेड द रॉयल फैमिली आफ्टर द डेथ ऑफ द रॉयल फैमिली पेट्रियार्क जो नवंबर में डेथ हुई उनका। तो मेवाड़ विच when we are talking about मेवाड़ तो उनका हिस्टोरिकल सिग्निफिकेंस है कि राणा संगा एंड जो और उसके बाद बोल सकते हैं कि सेकेंड वुड बी रिगार्डिंग द राणा प्रताप, महाराणा प्रताप बैटल ऑफ हल्दी घाटी अगेंस्ट अकबर। उसके बाद फिर मेवाड़ स्कूल ऑफ आर्ट आ जाता है इसमें, पेंटिंग हो गया। फिर ओवरऑल जो रामबाग पैलेसेस हो गए, क्रिएशन ऑफ द चित्तौड़ फोर्ट हो गया, सब मेवाड़ के अंदर में आते हैं। तो मेवाड़ स्कूल ऑफ पेंटिंग इफ वी आर डिस्कसिंग दैट, तो इट इज अ वाइब्रेंट painting focusing on bhakti, palaces, royalty, etc. It is part of the Rajput style of painting, apart from Bhasoli, Kishangarh, Marwar, Shekhawati, etc. तो जो अभी के जो अलग अलग एस्पेक्ट में पैलेसेस है इंडिया के अंदर में, क्योंकि 1971 में प्राइवेसी जो प्राइवी पर्स थे उसको अबॉलिश कर दिया गया था बाय इंदिरा गांधी गवर्नमेंट। Under than that, under that, certain rupees, certain salary were given to the kings and royals for signing instrument assistant। उसको हटा दिया गया था। तो उसके बदले में जो ऑल द पैलेसेस और बाकी जो उनके पास प्रॉपर्टी थे, इट हैज बीन ट्रांसफॉर्म्ड इनटू हेल्थ एंड वेलनेस भी जोड़ा गया, एट द सेम टाइम लग्जरी होटल बनाया गया, मोस्टली लग्जरी होटल है। तो उसी से उनका रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर, रेवेन्यू कैपिटल इनकम बढ़ता है। तो उन्हीं के ऊपर उनका इशू। Previously, we have discussed regarding the World Bank, questioning about the skill sector, skill system in India, and how the skilling should be focused on. For that, the employability index, scalability of the undergraduate, it is needed. So UGC have approved flexible degree completion for the undergraduate student, जिसमें एडीबी और ईडीपी फॉर एग्जाम्पल एक्सेलरेटेड डिग्री प्रोग्राम रहेगा एंड एक्सटेंडेड डिग्री प्रोग्राम। It will focus on additional grade starting for the semester. You will have the right to choose any other stream and you can skill up according to your needs. So additional credit मिलेगा and they will also enter the workforce and pursue higher studies soon. For example, कोई metallurgy में तो they he can aspire for computer science credit etc. तो एसओपी स्टैब्लिश किया जाएगा, हो सकता है सीवी के अकॉर्डिंग हो सकता है, एज वेल एज ग्रेडिंग के अकॉर्डिंग हो सकता है। एंड ओवरऑल 10% एडीबी दिया जाएगा स्टूडेंट को एंड दे विल अलाउ देम टू हैव अ सर्टेन काइंड ऑफ अ क्रेडिट सिस्टम पर सेमेस्टर focusing on other courses apart from the core areas. This will create a interdisciplinary skills as well as the skills that will be teach, yeah, that will be brushing up will be focused on MOU between the institution and the companies. Hmm. ओवरऑल माइक्रो क्रेडेंशियल हो गया कीवर्ड, स्पेशलाइज्ड कोर्सेज हो गया एंड एडिशनल क्रेडिट हो गया. ONOS, bringing down the cost of access to research. ON, one nation, one ration card, one nation, one tax, वैसे ही one nation, one subscription. ये स्कीम है. Because in India, we have to focus on R&D. उसके लिए ANRF, Anusadhan National Research Foundation, which focuses on granting of the various R&D projects. It has been supported by the corpus 50,000 crores. It will it will cater to the whole R&D activity and needs in the country by the private sector as well as public sector. For that, research paper is needed. Research paper cost is much higher, and if there is certain kind of platform which is creating to the giving of the research paper at a very minimum cost, affordable cost to the students, then students and a researcher they can get research paper at a very lower cost from every other institution, which will also improve the patent availability. It will also increase the research output and accessibility. Then the lack of transparency which was there, which caused which caused discrepancy in the knowledge system, which it will also reduce. Further, the copying or plagiarization of the research paper, which also reduce the free availability of the research paper across the stream. Regarding the new seed bill, in the scientist industry, they are demanding more and more because overall seed it is very foundation for whole agriculture system. In India, seed is of two types. That is, first is dependent on the private sector. For example, when we are talking about BT cotton, ST cotton, the monopolization tendency of the private sector is there. 90% of the whole cotton industry, it is only supported by the BT cotton. And secondary, the seeds that is being conserved by the farmers themselves. So Seed Act, that is empowering the farmers to conserve the seed as well as to make it more resilient against the climate change and also to increase the output, productivity of the seeds, quality of seeds is needed. For that, Seeds Act in 1966 and seed rule have to be revised. क्योंकि national seed policy that is being there, it needs certain kind of a inclusion. For example, we have to enroll the climate resilient seeds. We have to also increase the R&D facility. We have to give the power to the farmers to conserve the several seeds. We have to make them agri entrepreneur, which is missing right now. We are only focusing on R&D by the agriculture institution, ICAR, as well as other private sector. But we are not focusing on farmers because they are also the grassroots level entrepreneur with regard to the new technology for the conservation of seed. So what is the farmer seed and what is commercial seed? It is very basic thing. It should be defined, and this will only help to mitigate the challenges what we have seen in Monsanto cases where the farmers were using the potato of that potato and other kind of a technology that was given by the big companies for their own personal purposes. Coal. When we are talking about coal, it has a vibrant history from nationalism to century. In industrial revolution, coal became very important tool for the second industrial revolution in Europe. Similarly, in India, coal is seen as a heavy industry belt, for example, Jharia, Bokaro, and surrounding Sundargarh surrounding region. It was coal industry was also nationalized in 1960s to cater to the demand of the population. So the use of coal it has increased to right now 800 million ton to 900 million ton because it is a industry which is a chain to backward and forward linkage to across the industry. For example, steel, in iron, energy, cooking, coal, gas plant, etc. Energy is very important. So there is focus on coal, but right now the Western countries they are focusing on transition from coal. For example, Germany, France, they are focusing on nuclearization as well as incorporating of other renewable source of energy such as solar, wind, etc. But for India and China as a developing nation, we are transitioning away from coal slowly by 2070 and 2060. Western country criticize India for using coal, but for India, just transition is needed. And India has criticized the Western country. Even on COP29 Baku summit, it has criticized them for not upholding the spirit of the Cancun 2009 summit when they have promised to give $100 billion per year, but still $1.3 trillion per year it is needed, but they have only promised around $300 billion per year for the support regarding the climate change mitigation. As the historical contributor to the climate change, the Western countries should have supported transition from the coal, which they have not done. That is why India and other developing countries they are focusing on creating of a financial. They are focusing on certain kind of a financial stream so that they can invest in clean coal technology. They will focus on slow transition from coal and other technology, for example, coal gasification, clean coal. So the coal, it is part of colonization, nationalism as well as globalization, privatization. हर एक एस्पेक्ट के अंदर में उनका एक स्टोरी कोल का वो बताना चाहिए. For ISRO, Gaganyaan, it is very important for the space exploration because it offers them technological expertise for the future mission, for example, to the Venus or even soft landing on the moon. Gaganyaan is a midway of the science experiment which will focus on creating of a viable environment for the Gaganyaan Yatris and other space researchers scientists. For that, Gagan Yatris have assigned and they have completed their training. The initial phase has been successful. So, in a longer run, the Gagan Yatris will conduct experiment and they will create data point which will help the ISRO and other scientific bodies across the world, NASA, ESEX, JAXA, etc., to collaborate with each other and to focus on other missions such as Artemis record accord for creating of an environment on the moon. We have seen how the coal story it has seen from urbanization, first phase of urbanization as a source of energy, colonization, enlightenment, industrialization, globalization, privatization, and right now, coal has been criticized for being primary contributor to the climate change. That is why many countries are transitioning away from coal. Hmm. Then cyclone Fingal to hit coast between the Karaikal Mahabalipuram. IMD, Indian Meteorological Department, have reported. During this period, December and November, retreative monsoon is there, and it creates adequate viable environment for rainfall in the Tamil Nadu coast. So retreating monsoon and creating of a developing of a weather in the surrounding region in the West Bengal region creates a depression which causes moving of the wind speed around 80 to 70 km, 90 km per hour. So cyclone Fingal, it will hit the coast. So what is required? Adequate disaster management plan that has been already there in the National Disaster Management Authority NDMA guideline under the DM Act 2005. According to this, 4 to 5 aspects should be followed. First is Project Motion that will focus on awareing the coastal communities and fisheries. They should go. They should avoid going into the interiors of the seas. Second would be retrofitting of the surrounding region. For example, their houses, etc. Giving them insurance, crop insurance, and others. Rehabilitation and resettlement mechanism after the cyclone Fengal had hit, then focusing on Abda Mitra and local bodies. For example, Odisha government has already given mandatory direction to the local bodies panchayat to create a plan of action within the Gram Sabha and Gram Panchayat. How to control, how to mitigate the cyclone impact in that region. And so fifth would be with regarding to the overall resettlement program. For example, disaster relief camp हो गया या फिर portable hospitals Bhishma project Bhishma that is there that will focus on first aid and also treatment of the victims of the cyclone fingers. Regarding the implication of the CCI probe into the Google updated policy in 2022. जिसमें Play Store, Daily Fantasy Sports and Rummy in India for a period of 1 year. The gaming industry, they have criticized Google. They have complained against Google with regard to two things. First is restriction of the ad on the app. Second, the payment system which was used by the gaming companies, which was not through the Play Store and Google, but they were creating a new channel for the payment system. And third would be regarding the predatory pricing system on the Play Store platform. All the three has been criticized as monopolization of the market system because margin of the profit it has reduced. Further, there is a issue of transparency and policy enforcement regarding the Google's conduct with regard to several gaming industry and others app. So, but on the Google part, what they have said that they talk about regarding the overall data privacy as well as they check if the gaming system it is having viruses or not, it is threat to the mobile ecosystem or not. Further, Google states that every other platform it is different, so they should follow the overall Play Store as well as protocol that has been assigned by the Google. So there is an issue with regard to three things only. First is predatory pricing system. Second would be lack of transparency regarding the Google code of conduct, and third would be payment system. Google Google always talk about the payment system through the Google Play Store, but the gaming companies they have come up with a different channel, for example, PayPal and others, which routes beyond the Google system. So All the three has been taken up by the CCI, Competition Commission of India, which is a statutory body to 22 Act, if the Google is abusing the platform. Liberal arts degree, it is criticized for not creating adequate jobs in the country, but here it is talking about it is worth more than it is realized, because liberal arts includes the overall, it is beyond science. For example, science, STEM, it is focusing on creating a certain kind of a infrastructure as well as technology in the society for the society well-being, whereas liberal arts focuses on basic element, behavior aspect, as well as historical thing, geographical, and we can say language, which is very important for the whole humanity survival and emotion. The combination of liberal arts as well as the engineering STEM will create a more sustainable, more interdisciplinary workforce, which will fuel the next generation industrial revolution. कैसे? ChatGPT needs STEM education, needs engineers, as well as it needs modular language researchers for creating of a large LLM. Further, the robotics, Sophia and others, needs certain kind of a behavior thinking fed into it through the use of algorithm. Behavior comes from psychology. It is a under the liberal arts thinking. Liberal arts approach should be focusing on interdisciplinary courses, and it should be multicultural. It should be focusing on soft skill, and we can say it should also create a certain kind of a critical thinking, because in India mostly in liberal arts, for example PSI, history, many of the researches output, many of the tradition, it is followed from the Western notion. For example, Cambridge School, and even we are following the Chicago School with regard to the PSI, political science. So we have to create our own thinking regarding the critical skills that is required for the Indian societal problem. For example, poverty, hunger, caste, class inequality. We have to create viable students and workforce which will be effective for whole global citizen. For example, soft skill, how to research solely and find out what are the truth in it, what is the connection between the science, overall science, as well as the liberal arts, interdisciplinary thinking. This will this will enhance the learning with the help of experiential as well as use of technology. The overall integrated thinking should be promoted between the science stream as well as liberal arts. This is a way ahead for the future, because artificial intelligence needs both semiconductor, needs NVIDIA, etc., as well as they need thinker for the algorithm. Algorithm जो algorithm बना रहे उनके लिए भी there has to be certain kind of a mindset behind it. Psychological हो सकता है, arts हो सकता है, which is being used. And दूसरा important, one more important thing with regard to the regulation of the artificial intelligence. कि what is the objective truth, what is the fact, question mark. तो ये कैसे डिटरमाइन होगा? लिबरल आर्ट से डिटरमाइन होगा. When we discuss regarding demographic winter faced by several countries, which has been also asked in PT, Italy, Japan, South Korea, etc. So here it is criticizing South Korea economy as well as whole society, because there has been a decline in TFR rate, total fertility rate, and below 2, that is 1.3 के अराउंड रहेगा, तो slowly the overall population will be replaced by the immigrant, and there would be a disappearance of the Korean population in next 2 to 3 generation. तो क्यों ऐसा हो रहा है? क्योंकि पहली बात है कि द women, they are entering the workforce, they are becoming independent, they are choosing to live a lifestyle which is beyond patriarchal notion of the lifestyle, that is caring for the family. Second would be regarding the cost of raising the children. It is very high in several areas. And third would be uncertainty in the global scenario. For example, Russia-Ukraine war, okay, regarding the inflation and also the overall climate change and associated problems. The uncertainty creates social anxiety among the population to raise children. एक 4B movement है, which is no marriage, no childbirth, no dating, no sex, which has gone viral among the Korean women because she, they have been criticizing the overall patriarchal notion of the Korean society with regarding to the gender role of the women. So slowly the population decreasing. The what can be done? The first of all, the like Japan and Russia, incentive should be given by the government regarding population. If the population decrease very huge, जैसे कोरियन फर्टिलिटी रेट 6.6 था 1950 में कोरियन वॉर के समय 83 आया 2.1 हुआ और अभी 0.72 है मतलब हर 3 लेडीज में 2 बच्चे हैं अप्रोक्सीमेटली तो वी कैन से कि व्हाट कैन बी डन फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल क्रिएटिंग अ सेफ स्पेस एनवायरनमेंट so that the women feels at home they uh, they are part of the whole nurturing ecosystem. Care economy should be promoted and also third would be giving them incentive, for example work from home as well as support system for the government regarding the caring of the children. Paternal leave हो सकता है maternal leave हो सकता है. महाकुंभ महाकुंभ festival, it is the largest festival which leads to a gathering of the millions of people. For that timing, it is important. Divine liberation, nectar of spirituality. Like more focus, it is on how it will be conducted. What is required for the sustainability of the Mahakumbh? The first thing, traffic management, people management, with the use of, for example, chemical engineering talks about the movement of the fluid, mapping of the movement of the crowd can be done with a simulation in the computer. Drone with the use of drone, with the use of other kind of a technology such as mapping of the zone by the satellite. It can be done to create a artificial cities, specific artificial cities for the Mahakumbh. Second would be tent and other accommodation should be sustainable, should be fireproof. For example, bio toilet, etc. And third would be creating of a sewage treatment plant because in that region at a specific time, specific location, 2 crore to 3 crore people will arrive. So it becomes very mandatory to create a channel for treatment of the waste. For that, biopod and other sewage treatment mechanism with the help of bacteria, which is being used by the railways, can be done. Then the second would be focusing on awareing the people, making them aware regarding the sanitation and health and wellnesses. Protocol should be there. Then only overall the vision of the Mahakumbh will be achieved, which will focus on searching for the divine liberation, spirituality, Sai Sthan, etc. कुंभ मेला इज लार्जेस्ट मोस्ट सेक्रेड टू 12 साल में एक होता है एक बार होता है 12 years एट प्रयागराज जनवरी टू फेब्रवरी commercial activity spiritual solaces it makes them mega project 40 crore visitor expected to visit Mahakumbh. 40 crore. Even before the event, the tourism will rise. 5 करोड़ प्रयागराज में गए थे 2023 में और एडिशनल आएंगे भी. So direct, there will be direct impact on local economy, but much more focus should be there on the sustainability of the project. Because what tourists, researchers, international media, सबको आएंगे. It is a UNESCO World Intangible World Heritage from the country. So it is very important to make it viable, secure, and climate friendly. Talking about the climate friendly, responsible tourism, quote unquote keyword, it should it should be promoted in hilly areas and all the areas, not only hilly areas. We are talking about Uttarakhand, which also known as Dev Bhumi. The tourism should be sustainable and vibrant because Uttarakhand faces challenges of land subsidence, glacier-like outburst, flash flood. It is in the fifth zone, fourth to fifth zone of the earthquake, fourth fifth of the earthquake zone. So it is very vulnerable to the shifting of the land pattern, landslide, landslip. It faces this every year. So it is very important to promote responsible tourism. It is onus on the state government, central government, as well as the society to support and to care to conserve the whole pristine ecosystem of the Uttarakhand. तो कैसे कर सकते हैं? तो first is conservation of local dialect, Garhwali, Kumaoi, planting the trees, conservation of trees, focusing on water cleanliness, maintaining Tibari houses. Keyword that is focusing on homestay Tibari houses rather than constructing new buildings, hotels, heavy construction. You have to focus on Tibari houses, village level entrepreneurship and village level tourism, local vocal for local endeavor, obeying traffic rules, respecting the pilgrimage decorum, and avoiding single-use plastic. All these things are appeal to the people of Uttarakhand, but not only through the use of newspaper, but also social media as well as board should be there at every certain 100 meter. And heavy focus should be made on also on with regard to the creating of a system that will focus on sewage treatment and disposal of the single-use plastic, etc. At the same time, penalizing provision under the Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016, Biomedical Waste Management Rules, Solid Waste Management Rules 2016 should be there. So tourism, we are focusing responsible tourism in which sectors? तो वहां पर आ गया regarding adventure tourism, homestay, spiritual tourism, pilgrimage tourism हो गया. Then नक्षत्र जो हम लोग न्यूज़पेपर में पढ़ते हैं बहुत बार, that is space tourism, space also research based tourism हो गया. Medical tourism, for example Ayurvedic medicine, village tourism हो सकता है इसमें, एंड एडवेंचर टूरिज्म पैराग्लाइडिंग हो गया, वाटर स्पोर्ट्स, वेडिंग डेस्टिनेशन तो वेडिंग टूरिज्म भी है. So all these aspects of tourism can be promoted in a very eco-friendly manner. Use of the local construction material, use of the local creating of the local jobs, as well as focusing on creating of a viable ecosystem regarding the sustainability. Next. Electricity. It gets for the first time in the remote Chhattisgarh villages in Bijapur. It is a most affected region. So this showcases how the government is focusing on in the deep interior of the jungle, because electricity it is not just a tool, it is a welfare aspect. It transforms the life. जो बच्चे सुबह नहीं पढ़ पाते और रात नहीं पढ़ेंगे, और electricity becomes very foundation for whole ecosystem. For example, fan, cooling aspect हो गया, regarding agriculture equipment हो गया, battery technology etc. तो electricity creates a empowerment of whole humanity. तो वहां तक पहुंच गया electricity. The Sambhal Jama Masjid. Supreme Court has asked the Sambhal Mosque Committee to approach the Allahabad High Court with this plea. इसमें क्वेश्चन बस बेसिक ये उठा था कि इट इज अ मस्जिद which was built in 1526 by official of Babur. लेकिन हिंदू क्लेम इसमें ये मतलब फ्रॉम द हिंदू साइड द बिलीफ देयर इज अ बिलीफ दैट फीचर टेम्पल is traced from the mosque building, and rubble from the temple has been used, quote unquote, has been used for the building it. The Hindu claim that the temple of the Hari Mandir is there, which has been desecrated, and the mosque has been built on. For that, the Sambal Mosque or usse related the iconography as well as role of the ASI, Archaeological Survey of India, to find out if the claim is suitable or not. तो पहला लीगल टैंगल ने 1878 में भी लीगली अप्लाई हुआ था, which was dismissed by the Chief Justice Sir Robert Stewart. तो इसे क्वेश्चन उठा था रिगार्डिंग टू द 1991 प्लेसेस ऑफ वर्शिप. हाँ, प्लेसेस ऑफ वर्शिप था 1991 1992 में कि द स्टेटस ऑफ द religious places which was on and by 1947 it will remain unchanged. लेकिन अयोध्या जजमेंट के अंदर में सुप्रीम कोर्ट यूनानिमसली 5 जजेस ने सेम कहा था विद रिगार्डिंग टू कि द स्टेटस ऑफ द religious places will remain unchanged which was there on 1947, but the whole if the religious place उनका स्टेटस क्या है, if it is under dispute then it will not come under the place of worship of 1990. Places of worship एक्ट के अंदर में अयोध्या टेम्पल इट वॉज रिमूव फ्रॉम इट वॉज गिवन एग्जामिशन. वैसे ही संभल पर भी क्वेश्चन उठता है कि द अपील वॉज मेड इन अलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट 1878, तो इट प्रीसीड्स द 1947 इवेंट. तो कोट एंड कोट इट कैन बी used under Place of Worship Act exemption because the overall controversy was before the independence of the India. लेकिन from this, another point of view is that there can be certain kind of a provision. For example, many of the artisans were Hindus that were also using the iconography of the local system for creating of a mosque. So it can be that some element of the Hindu temple and motif were used in the mosque. First and second would be we are focusing much more on excavation of the area, which will create communal anxiety among the communities. For example, reclamation of the past. It will not only with regard to the Hindus and Muslim, it will also percolate to other areas. For example, Buddhist, Jain, Sikh, Hindus, etc. So what is required? It is first, if both the parties agree to the whole scientific exploration with the role of the ASI, it should be done in a very peaceful and a very constitutional manner. And second would be with regard to the committee should be formed between the both communities that will talk about certain kind of a grievances with each other. They will sort it out, because other than that, slowly it will create a Pandora box in which temples, mosque, Buddhist temple, etc. will become under question, because in India, many of the places have a very syncretic element. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इलोरा केव्स जहां पर तीनों एलिमेंट है, महाबोधि टेम्पल, इवन नालंदा जहां पर बुद्धिस्ट एंड हिंदू एलिमेंट है. तो on what basis it will be claimed as wholly Buddhist or wholly Hindu? This is another question. So we have to focus on syncretic element which is there in the society, which will be on the basis of committee recommendation. India TFR is 2.1 currently. Slowly TFR has decreased from 3 to 2.1 in last 20 years. In 1970s, 80.5% of the whole sterilization program were vasectomies. It has declined due to the focus on beyond vasectomies. For example, use of contraceptive by the both male and female. This will not only reduce the disparity, but also it will also reduce the unsafe sex practices. It will also reduce the unwanted sex and other diseases, for example, HIV, etc. But ground reality is different because there is a issue of stigma with regard to the male sterilization program. Many of the families, particularly the vulnerable section of society, they are they are not they has to be sensitized with regard to the whole sterilization program. Vasectomy is safe and simple procedure, but many of the tribals, many of the vulnerable section of society, they fear that in longer run it will create a health impact on them. So male participation as well female participation should be there. For example, Bhutan, वहां पर it has popularized vasectomy processes among the men, making it procedure social acceptable, good quality services, and organizing government-run camp. So overall, as South Korea, there is a higher prevalence of the vasectomy. So when we are talking about population control, population management, not only we have to focus on contraceptive as a tool, but also vasectomy as a surgery to control the population. It can be done on the male as well as female counterpart. The board as intern needs to take responsibility. It is same we have discussed Korean. Gati Shakti विश्वविद्यालय फ्रॉम द पीटी पर्सपेक्टिव मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ रेलवेज के अंदर में आते हैं और जो मिनिस्टर होते हैं वो चांसलर होते हैं. गति शक्ति इंटीग्रेशन कोलैबोरेशन कोऑर्डिनेशन synergy between the several ministry with regard to several projects in India. 101 lakh crore. Odisha proposed anti-cheating law. Public Examination Act 2024 was passed by central government. Odisha is also passed that will focus on online cheating and public examination. For example, revenue inspector, ICDS officers, etc. It will also count the leak paper as offences. Violation such as tampering with computer network manipulation, creating a fake website for the monetary gain will also be penalized. It will be non-bailable, non-compoundable, fine will be there, but focus is if it will be acting as a deterrent to or not. क्योंकि 1 crore फाइन तो हो चुका है. It will reduce the overall cheating mechanism or not. The first, just like we have seen the creation of the system such as like JEE prelims, it should be multi-layer examination. Second would be focusing on computer-based and adequate institution should be roped in where the examination takes place every year. It should be given, it should be built accordingly with the help of jammers, technologies, CCTV, fingerprint, etc. Only specific institution should be given certification by the NTA and other bodies to conduct examination. And third would be to reduce the examination processes, focus on local level skilling as well as alternative education method can be. I've discussed this. I've discussed this. Then regarding the Amazon India, Amazon, Walmart, they work on two aspects is this their inventory model and another one is mm, मानसी दूसरा क्या है
Market,
इन्वेंटरी
marketplace.
मार्केट हाँ मार्केट प्लेस तो इंडिया में जो अमेजन और फ्लिपकार्ट है दे वर्क इन मार्केट प्लेस मॉडल नॉट अ इन्वेंटरी मॉडल सो लेकिन just like we have seen the reports of strike in Tamil Nadu against the Samsung for demanding of the labor, wages, safety, hazard. They are demanding more better work-life condition, working condition, etc. Similarly, Amazon India worker it is demanding. They are demanding. It is not only the case with India. Starbucks employee in USA, Walmart employees in USA, they are also demanding because the labors that are working in Amazon areas, they are being replaced by the robots. First challenge it is there. Second would be regarding the minimum wages. They are getting less than the minimum wages in certain areas, and the whole inflation, GDP growth is decreasing, expenditure is decreasing, so it is eating away the real wages of the laborers. That is why they are demanding. Automaker with existing plant may get EV incentive too. The government EV Act, it is giving incentive to the factories. That is by limiting the overall benefits of the automakers. At least $500 million investment is to manufacture EVs in India. Components should be 50% locally, so that self-reliance should be supported. Hmm. EV policy was designed to encourage Tesla, but Tesla stand it is key. They will focus on manufacturing of equipments and other parts in China, and they will just assemble in India. But Indian government stand is that Tesla has to manufacture parts in India, for example, battery technology, and they have to adhere to the target of 50% locally entitled. For example, recent जो महिंद्रा ने लॉन्च किया EVs approximately 20 lakhs rupees जिसमें बैटरी सिस्टम था इट वाज फ्रॉम द BYD कंपनी इन चाइना बट वेरएस अदर जो एस्पेक्ट था इट वाज लोकली manufactured. Slowly, India will move forward with the local manufacturing capacities, and later on, in later stage, Tesla and other foreign companies can predict the local environment. US and Western country have criticized India on farm subsidies. That is distorting the amber box. That is more than 10% of the subsidies. लेकिन India's counter with regard to the US charge, it has stated that many developed countries also give subsidy, which sometimes more than 5%. Further, data that has been given regarding the agreement of the agriculture, it is based on the calculation. It has said that India needs to credit to the food security as well as the target that has been given, that is 10% जो limit होना चाहिए, it should not breach. But the 10% limit, it is based on the price of a 1986-1998 report. Right now, after the 35 years, It should be reviewed. It should be changed because inflation and other economic prosperity, it has not been included into the price mechanism. The methodology is very inconsistent because the price it is being taken off under the 10% subsidy cap under the Amber Box Agreement of the Agriculture. It is based on 1986 line. Further, India's total production of the rice it is $52.8 billion. Subsidies is $6.3 billion, which is less than 10%. If there is breach of 10%, then it comes under the peace clause that has been agreed in Bali Summit 2013. For example, during COVID times, when India invoked peace clause along with other countries because it created unprecedented food security challenges for the 80 crore people in India. India talks about making the peace clause permanent, whereas US and other countries they criticize the peace clause and they say that India and China and other quote unquote developing countries need to come they need to come forward and negotiate the peace clause with the developed countries. तो 2 to 3 एस्पेक्ट यहाँ पर डिफर है दोनों कंट्री के बीच में. Regarding the benefits in the 5 hydroelectric project on Ganga and tributary in Uttarakhand, Ministry and Jal Shakti Ministry has, even as Ministry of Environment and Jal Shakti Ministry have opposed the project, but Supreme Court has backed the 5 hydro project. The question is regarding the potential carrying capacity of the in Uttarakhand region, and also it is prone to the flash flood. It will also impose serious ecological impact as studied found by IIT Kanpur. But even that, the whole hydroelectric project, for example, Devasari, Bhayundar, Bhayundar Ganga, Jalakoti, Ukram, etc. There was it can be established because economic development versus environment sustainability and the cost it has been scrutinized by the Supreme Court and it has been given green light. Second, focus should be on creating of a hydroelectric project structures and if it will impact the landslide and pristine nature of that region or not, it will change the course of the river or it will change the carrying capacity or not, it should be studied upon. China has become the world's largest car export. Big companies say battery BYD, Volkswagen जर्मन कंपनी है. तो इसमें बोल सकते कि चाइना it has focused on creating of a sustainable technology with regard to EVs, that is EV park, giving subsidies for buying of EV as well as setting up the plant. Second, third would be focusing on semiconductor and other critical minerals because China monopolizes most of the raw material that is required for the EVs. Because right now half of the Chinese buyer choose battery electric technology in hybrid car than gasoline car. Battery capacity and also the whole PLI scheme which India gives, it is much lesser than China क्योंकि वहां पर it has been worth $230 billion. Beijing assistance to China electric and battery sector, it is more than $230 billion, which is much more higher than India's PLI subsidies. It is based on hub and spoke model, connecting factories with regard to the charging station, electric vehicles. That is why China has become a major player. हर एक एस्पेक्ट में एंट्री लेवल में रॉ मटेरियल्स ईवीज
से लेकर के सेमीकंडक्टर, क्रिटिकल मिनरल, सप्लाई चेन मैनेजमेंट, क्रिएटिंग ऑफ द सब्सिडीज एंड ऑल्सो द प्रोडक्शन। उसके बाद फिर डिमांड में भी सब्सिडीज दे रहे हैं। एंड दे आर फोकसिंग ऑन एक्सपोर्ट टू अदर कंट्री, फॉर एग्जाम्पल इंडिया। बीवाईडी की कार यहाँ पर बाकी जो कंपटीशन कार का सामने सस्ते पड़ते हैं, 15 लाख में मिल जाते हैं, एज कम्पेयर टू टाटा। वहाँ रेंज भी कम है लेकिन बीवाईडी कार के रेंज ज्यादा है। एमजी के जो कार्स है वो भी ओके। मोस्ट कॉम्पिटिटिव प्राइसेस, गिविंग एडवांस इलेक्ट्रिकल फैसिलिटी towards climate change resilient Asia. We have discussed previously that smog जो है इंडिया, it is international. It should be focusing on a multilateral platform, for example India, Pakistan, to deal with the smog rather than stand-alone country-specific solution. To meet the overall demand of the climate change, mitigation of climate change, COP29 focused on climate finances. But beyond finances, innovation should be there. For example, electric vehicle, hybrid, renewable source of energy. Investment from the finance should be there. For example, in several areas, public infrastructure, public transportation, renewable source of energy, investment in new alternative form of technology, for example, ocean thermal, waves energy, geothermal, etc. Then investment in climate adaptation. That is why yesterday we have discussed natural farming, how the central government is focusing natural farming mitigation. Similarly, climate adaptation, that is giving CSR certificate to the farmers for conserving SOC, soil organic compound, Tampa, agroforestry, etc. Mobilization climate finance at scale तभी हो सकता है जब कार्बन बॉन्ड को improve करेंगे, ग्रीन बॉन्ड अंडर द मल्टीलैटरल इंस्टीट्यूशन, फॉर एग्जाम्पल ग्लोबल एनवायरमेंट फैसिलिटी, then creating of a uh, we can say loss and damage fund, which will cater the demands of the vulnerable countries that is facing climate change issue. Regulatory action to make the whole climate oriented fund, इसमें ज्वाइंट इम्प्लीमेंटेशन आता है, CER होता है, कार्बन बॉन्ड होता है, it should be audited in a very transparent manner. South-South partnership between the developing country, underdeveloped countries. For example, Voice of Global South, basic countries, and others. They are BRICS. They are focusing on creating of a alternative chain. G20. It is focusing on Global Biofuel Alliance. India's role in Asian climate strategy. India role is just transition, and it will focus on energy security as well as investment. Second, under the National Climate Action Program, India is creating of a ecosystem for for example EVs technology, alternative technology, investment in renewable source of energy, solar, wind, hydro, etc. Creating of a environment regarding the semiconductor, EVs, battery specific technology, etc. Then roping in finance support from the World Bank, from we can say multilateral institutions such as ADB, NDB, and also what has been negotiated in Baku Summit to 2029, it will be implemented in India. China's trump card, target US firm and turn to India. India will gain a lot if it can use the Trumpism economy policy of the US, because under that the Trump will focus on negotiating the whole trade policy, and it will focus on America first, creating of a viable America self-reliance as compared to globalization. So he have already focused on creating of a coal and oil, natural gas ecosystem in the country, manufacturing capacity in the country. So China plus one strategy, it will help India. Further, China will also start to diversify its investment from the US and other European countries to developing countries such as India and Africa. So in the trade war between US and China, India will gain a lot if India will focus on creating of a ecosystem within the country with regard to China plus one, as well as slowly integrating the relationship with China after the Kazan summit, in which de-escalation process had just started after the Kazan. So alliance formation Eurasia, that is Eurasia with the help of Russia and Central Asia, as well as China focusing on alternative investment path in India and African region, India will gain a lot. Elon Musk approach regarding the space exploration, that is continental travel, interplanetary mission. The ISRO its chief have endorsed that very possible if India will focus on Gaganyaan and having a certain kind of capability to send astronaut into space. Because in that field, for the space travel, basic element would be focusing on creating of a livability ecosystem for the astronaut. If it is not present, then we will be dependent on the China and other countries for that also. That is why we need vehicles, we need Gaganyaan as well as technology that will be used in the space. For example, biotechnology to preserve the food and to grow the food, and then also using technology to make hydrogen oxygen for the deep space exploration, for example in moon, etc. So there has to be certain kind of mutual relations between the private sector and ISRO for achieving the target that has been set by the Elon Musk to explore deep space, for example, colonization of the Mars and beyond. So is for ISRO to be successful, capacity building, incorporation of the private sector through the use of NSIL must be there. Other than that, MSME ecosystem in space sector should be augmented with the help of support. And so right now, India's space economy, it is around $5 billion. It is aiming to reach $500 billion. The space economy is aiming to reach $500 billion to $1.5 trillion, and India's contribution to space is only 1 to 2%. It is focusing on creating to achieve 10% by 2030, 2047. We have finished for today. We will take up next set of important articles for discussion from the PT as well as mains perspective. Do subscribe to the Sarkari. Thank you.